Hello, hello. Welcome to day 21 of my 21 day lives. What is it? It is Wednesday, uh, August 7th, and we are talking about co parenting. Um, Hold on a second. We're talking about co parenting challenges and solutions. I was just getting Instagram on live with us. I am Karen McMahon of Journey Beyond Divorce, and co-parenting is such a complicated situation. A lot of the people that we work with are in more complex divorces, which makes it all the more complicated. And so today I hope to run through a couple of scenarios, a number of tips and suggestions that have helped a lot of my clients out. And I hope that this serves you. If you're listening, watching, and you have a question, drop the question or a comment. And if I can see it and respond to it while I'm live, I will do that. Otherwise, I will absolutely get to you afterward. So, if you're facing a contentious divorce, the first thing I want to say is if you're still in divorce and you don't have a settlement, you really want to learn about a parallel parenting agreement or settlement. And it's more ironclad, it's got some very solid guardrails and consequences. And if you're divorcing someone who is fickle and contentious, a parallel parenting agreement will serve you very well. So please ask your attorney about that. The other thing is set realistic expectations. I can't tell you how many times people have reached out to me in a high conflict marriage expecting to have an amicable divorce, or in a high conflict divorce expecting to have an amicable co-parenting experience. And so there's a saying, right? When someone shows you who they are, believe them. How your spouse or ex has been showing up is how they're going to show up. And so the whole idea that they're going to change or that you can control them any way, shape, or form, that ship has sailed. And the saying that I've learned that I love is to be expecting and accepting. And so you know this person, you know how they behave. You may have a great co-parenting, a reasonably good relationship, and I'll get to those in a minute. But for these really contentious ones, when you expect and accept how they're going to show up, you're not triggered and reactive and frustrated and disappointed. You're actually more along the lines of, oh, there he is, or there she is, and of course. And then when they show up in a good way, you actually are delightfully surprised, and it's a nice experience. And so if you're still early on, get that parallel parenting agreement, uh, set realistic expectations, and be expecting and accepting of who they are so that you're not so frustrated. The bottom line is that co-parenting is difficult, right? If we did this great together, we would still be married. And so yesterday I was talking about custody, and I was talking about how you have to pivot to a business relationship. And so today, as we talk about co-parenting, I really want you to put on your business hat. This is about a business relationship with your ex. And when you start thinking about it that way, in a business relationship, your feelings don't matter. You don't get into that so much. You at least attempt to be less emotional and more logical. And I know it's your kids. And, I went through a decade of co-parenting, and it does trigger you. And yet, if you have the business of co-parenting mindset, it can really help you minimize those conflicts. And so one of the things, a tip in that way, is the communication. Uh, when you're accepting and expecting, what can we collaborate on? I couldn't collaborate on anything. Whatever happened in his household, I had no control over. He had no interest in collaborating. And so that was clear. It was great. So now I'm in charge of my household. And if there's anything going on over there that I'm displeased with, I'm going to address my children, not my ex. And with my ex, it was business. And so BIF, brief, informative, firm, and friendly, which is a communication style, is something to absolutely adopt. Whatever you want to say to your spouse, first write it out, or your ex, I'm sorry. First write it out and then review it. Is this brief? Is there any briefer way I can say it? Is it firm, or am I being wishy washy and offering gray and openings to be attacked that I don't want to? So is it brief? Is it informative? Does it have all the facts? Not my opinions, not my feelings, just the facts. And then is it firm? And then if you can't be friendly, at least be neutral. So we don't want any zero character attack. It doesn't matter what you think. This is a business relationship. So I've noticed that uh, that Mindy hasn't made it to her music class every week. It's important for her. Can I support you in getting her there? Or can you explain to me what needs to happen so that she can be there? Brief, informative, firm, and friendly. And if you want to make an ask, make an ask. But you want to keep all character assassination out. You want to keep all, you did this, you shouldn't do this, I can't believe, I feel this way. Leave all of that out. And when it becomes a business relationship and you keep that in mind, this is the business of raising our kids, there's actually a lot that you don't have to communicate. In fact, many, many things don't have to be communicated. You end up communicating when there's a problem, or maybe when you need a switch in a schedule or something like that. And the other thing is, if communication is difficult, and even via text and email, if there's a lot of contention or belittling or character assassination coming from the other side, you're very well served in agreeing to pick a parenting app, a communication app like Talking Parents or Our Family Wizard, so that uh, you have it in a siloed space, and they have a lot of bells and whistles in those apps where they can be tracked, other people can see it, they can be flagged for when the communication is unhelpful and could cause more contention. So biff communication, get a third party app if it's helpful. One of the big complications that we all deal with is stuff that we need is at the other house. I mean, I was only 10 blocks from my ex, which was incredibly valuable because I had a young girl who loved dressing up, and part of her outfit was always at the other house. She was also on three different soccer teams, and her gear wasn't always with me. And so there was always this running back and forth. What can you do to minimize that? If you can afford it, get two sets of everything. Even if it's a little bit of a stretch, it'll save you in aggravation and time. I don't know if they still give out textbooks in school. If they do, request a textbook for each household. That was another big issue of ours. Um, Clothing, gear, school supplies were the key things. And so when you plan ahead, it's easier to minimize all of that kind of conflict. So think about what your kids need on a regular basis. And I would even say go so far, if they're even in grade school, a couple of years up, third grade, fourth grade up, you might put together a checklist for them. And you'll learn as you go what goes on that checklist. And they can have that maybe in their school backpack or what have you. And it's like, make sure, you have your outfit, you have your favorite shoes, pack up all your gear, whatever it is, so that they're actually starting to take responsibility and helping keep things smoother. And it'll be better for them too. Another big one is different rules for different households. Now, in amicable co-parenting, we can talk about rules that remain in both households. We can collaborate on celebrating or consequences for the children, and it's lovely. In more complex situations, there is no collaboration. And so that piece of knowing that the rules in my house are maybe very different than the rules in the other parent's house. And so you really just want to focus on what you can control. Because if you focus on what you can't control, my sense is you've been there, you've done that. It hasn't worked very well. We get triggered, we get reactive, the kids feel the tension, nothing positive comes out of it. And at the end of the day, you're not changing that person. So when you can accept that there are different rules in each household, and you may have a child who's playing video games way into the wee hours of the morning at the other parent's household, or the kids are wearing clothes that don't fit so great, or eating food that isn't that healthy. How important is it is a question that you have to ask yourself. And talking to your children, this is a huge thing that I talk to my clients about. When there's an issue and your children are behaving a certain way because the other parent is allowing them to, there's a golden opportunity to begin asking them questions and talking about, how does it feel to stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning playing video games? Ah, it feels great. What about the quizzes or the tests that you're no longer getting good grades on the next day? How does that feel for you? And you begin to engage in a conversation where they become self-reflective. And at first, they're not going to be all in with controlling themselves, but over the course of time, it is immensely valuable. And so I really encourage you to start those conversations, knowing that you only have so much control, but still pouring into the person that you do have control over, which is your child, as opposed to your ex. One of the things children do constantly, no matter how good they are, is they play one parent off of the other. And so you have to be really careful, because dad or mom might be saying, "Yeah, I hear the same thing from them." And so this certainly happened with me as well. It was probably one of the times I got on the phone with my ex to say, are we being played here? And maybe it was productive, maybe it wasn't. You'll choose. Challenging the kids and noticing when that's happening, and not being such a pushover, especially if they're like, the other parent sucks. Don't be jumping on that bandwagon. Really, like, check it out, poke around a little bit, make sure if they have a concern that it's very true and that you're not being played. Uh, the other one is when you're in a contentious co-parenting situation, uh, the children can come home from the, let's say, more chaotic or high conflict person's household, and they could be all ramped up. A lot of things could be happening. One is they could have a lot of frenetic energy that they didn't have when you sent them off. Um, the other one is they may be struggling with some loyalty issues, especially if the other parent is bashing you or criticizing them for being close to you. They're actually dealing with this internal loyalty struggle. And so there's the great opportunity there is to put some time aside, uh, have a bridge where they come home, they're chaotic, and they have an opportunity to dial down. That might be a time when they can go and play a video game for a half hour before they have to do their homework or their chores or dinner. And so when you're attentive, don't assume that it's naughty all of the time. That's what I did. I would give my kids consequences until I realized something strange is going on here. They leave these peaceful little beings and they come back like fighting with each other and me. Oh, they're bringing the energy from the other house here. It's not their fault. And so, how do you begin to support your kids as they need to transition back to the energy of your household? Kids telling you they want to be with the other parent. This is a really hard one, and it happens. And especially if you're the responsible parent and they're the fun parent, it may be that you get the short end of the stick. It's just, kids are kids, right? And so it's walking that fine line between not taking it personally, understanding this really interesting dynamic the kids are in. You don't know what's being said to them in the other household. You might know that they're having more fun there, that the other parent doesn't necessarily do the schoolwork, do the same level of disciplining that you do. And so there was one time where my son was so disgusted with my rules that he wanted to go and live with dad, and I let him, after some back and forth. And it was about 4 to 6 weeks before I got the phone call saying, "Is there any way we could sit down and talk? I don't." think that I can stay here. And that was an enormously hard decision for me. And it worked out very well because he was able to experience the yin and yang of living only at dad's and realize that that wasn't working so well with him. So it's a tender decision to face, but asking curious questions, not taking it personally, acknowledging and validating whatever they're bringing to the table, and then determining what's the best solution, and maybe even inviting them into what they think the best solution is, because you'll be surprised sometimes that they come up with. The last thing I want to say about co-parenting is co-parenting years are here and gone in a blink of an eye. What do they say? The days drag on and the years fly by. And so whatever stage you're in co-parenting, you're going to blink your eyes a couple of times and these kids are going to be off to college. And so I say that because you have a lifetime of relationship with your children, and the years of being a single parent and wrangling with them, especially through the teen years, and then with your ex, the co-parent. One of the things that I was told that really stuck with me was this single mom I knew said, I determine how I'm going to respond to my children by asking myself, is what I want to do going to enhance my relationship with my children or break it? Now, I'm not saying that means don't discipline, but if you're being reactive, if you want to complain about the other parent, if you want to judge the child and what they're going through, you really want to step back and say, how can I address this situation? Um, and at the same time, always improve and enhance my relationship with my child. Not always easy, but a great intention and conscious thought to have as you're handling each of the challenges that come up. And then finally, this too shall pass. I am now 18 years post divorce. The days dragged on, the years flew by. There were oodles and oodles of challenges with both of my children, with their dad, throughout the years. And yet now my kids are in their mid 20s, and we emerged really well. We have a beautiful relationship with each other. And that is what I wish for you, that with all that you've already gone through, that you would emerge from your co-parenting relationship. And not that it ends when they're emancipated, but it changes dramatically. And that your relationship with your children would be beautiful and precious to you and precious to them. And that everything that you would do would bring you and your children closer together. So I hope that you found some value in today's live. This is the last of 21, but I've been getting a lot of feedback, so I'll be coming back on a fairly regular basis. As always, if there is a topic that you would like to hear about, info@journeybeyonddivorce.com. Email it to us, drop it in the comments, ask for resources on the topic I've spoken about if you need some. We are here to support you, and I wish you the very best, and I'll see you again real soon. Okay, all for now.